everything is actually somehow right now. If you guys have been paying attention to the Canadian news, this new policy is going to affect your CRS point for sure. Some of these misrepresentations are not intentionally done. Be very truthful in your application. Like I said, if you are using an agent, watch that agent closely before they hit submit. Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Yemisi. On this channel I create immigration videos, I make vlogs, all those good stuff. If those are the kind of contents that you love to see, consider subscribing. I know it's kind of like a surprise seeing me again on your screen this year. I already rounded up for the year, but the Minister of Immigration recently announced 3 big policies, and I thought we needed to talk about it before the end of the year. Before we go into the video, a quick disclaimer: I am not a licensed immigration consultant. I make videos based on information that I research on or that I find very important for me to share with you guys. The first one, the Minister of Immigration has finally ended flag polling between the Canada-US border for temporary residents, because again, it's only temporary residents that will have a cost to go to the border. So what that means, and I think I've actually talked about it before on this channel, so it's not entirely new. That was something that was already in the works that started to gradually stop people going to flag poll. What does that mean? Flag polling is basically when a temporary resident or when an applicant applies for visa and in the course of waiting without a response, they go to CBSA, that's the Canada Border Service Agency, in order to fast track the application process, like the response. So whether it's a refusal or an approval, it typically involves you traveling out of Canada into the US territory, and that includes like getting stamps here and there. And yeah, it's actually a very, I'll call it somewhat a fast process for people, because I'm not sure that I've seen anyone that goes to flagpole with all the necessary documents that doesn't get their approval or their response like immediately. The impact, however, is that it slows down the work of the officers that are supposed to attend to people who have submitted their applications online. So when you go in person, it kind of slows down the work of the IRCC officers, because now they have to shift their attention from the online applications to the in-person application. So that has been stopped. And one of the reasons that the minister put out with regards eliminating flag polling was to reduce unnecessary strain on border officers and ensuring that resources are located effectively. He also mentioned that flag polling consumes valuable border resources, hinders critical enforcement activities, and disrupts cross-border traffic. Again, like I said, it's like a US-Canada border thingy, and it involves you moving out of Canada border into the US territory. And more importantly, they believe that it slows down the work of the border officers when it comes to attending to the applications online. The second one would be, and I think this one is somewhat in effect already, the minister is saying that they're trying to strengthen control over immigration documents. Recently, there's been a lot of alarm or like a lot of complaints about the applications that people are submitting, misrepresentations, errors, fraudulent documents, and the likes. So the minister has been very strict, and let's even talk about it. Everything is actually somehow right now. If you guys have been paying attention to the Canadian news, unfortunately, one of the people receiving the heat are people that are applying to come into the country, or people that are trying to renew their study permits, extend their study permits, apply for their postgraduate work permits. All of that, the strain is on them. And if you are inside, you would really understand what I'm saying. Like, the heat is too much right now. IRCC has been granted the authority, more like an autonomous power, to cancel, suspend, or modify immigration documents such as visas in cases of fraud or security risks. Also, they've been granted authority to suspend or stop accepting applications in situations deemed to be in the public interest, such as large-scale fraud attempts. By introducing these measures, Canada aims to prevent individuals who may pose risk from entering into the country and to safeguard policy resources more effectively. Why I said this was already in effect is Earlier this year, they introduced the provincial attestation letter such that people who normally apply with wrong or fake admission letters can now get a little bit more scrutinized. That is, the PAT allows you, that's a provincial attestation letter, it allows the IRCC officers to get like a confirmation from the school in which the applicant is going to confirm that the offer letter was gotten from that province and that school. So measures have been in place already, but it looks like IRCC now has an extra power in order to cancel, suspend, or modify applications. So what's actually funny is the fact that some of these misrepresentations are not intentionally done. And I say this because I know that sometimes people apply through agents, and those agents somewhat just use wrong information, like A's information for B. At the end of the day, by the time the visa officers are requesting for more information or like correction of some information, it takes a while for these agents to even see it, and then it becomes a banned situation or a visa denial situation. So I would advise that you scrutinize your application. Even if you're using an agent, try to look at your application and be sure that every information is good before you put in your application. And I say that because that will help you a whole lot. Don't forget that Canada shares the same database with the US, Australia, the UK and New Zealand, I think. Anyway, they share database with some other countries. It's important for you to make sure that all the information that you put out is true. Take for instance, if you've been denied visa before, which was my case, I have videos on the channel, go check them out. If you've been denied before, do not put there that you've not been denied before, okay? Even if you've not been denied in Canada before and you've been denied elsewhere and they request for that, put that there. It doesn't tamper with your application here. All you need to do is to explain the reason for denial, and then when they check for that, like when they try to look out those information, they see that you are actually genuine. It doesn't affect your application to Canada. Do you get what I mean? Because I see that people are somewhat very bothered when they get denied visa, and then they try to not include that in their application to Canada, which is very wrong. See, you will be asked that question as a temporary resident. You will also be asked the same question when you become a permanent resident, just so that they know what countries you've gone to. Be very truthful in your application. Everything is getting really strict right now, so you don't want to misrepresent any information. And again, like I said, if you are using an agent, watch that agent closely before they hit submit. This video is supposed to be very short, so let's just get to the last one quickly. The last one, which is a big one, is no more LMIA points. This one is a big one. I think I explained in my last video when someone was asking me some questions. With LMIA, your job offer is tied to an employer and it's based off of the terms and conditions. So like I mentioned in the previous video, it could be for a year, 2 years. For those kind of jobs, you get 50 points if the job title is under the NOC A and B, 200 points if the job title is under NOC 0. This information about NOC, you can also find it in my previous video, so please watch that video. I broke them down and I explained them a little bit more. Right now, IRCC is saying no more points. The reason is because there's been a lot of news as to people getting jobs in a fraudulent manner and like not justifiable, just so that they can boycott their way into getting those extra points for express entry. Don't forget that the 50 points is a significant addition to your CRS points. So even if you have 500 points right now in the pool, you have a job offer and you have worked for at least a year, you get points for that job, which is 50 points. And imagine 200 points if you're working in a managerial role. This new policy is going to affect your CRS points for sure if you are under the LMIA job situation, and right now there's no point for it, unfortunately. This change is expected to curb the misuse of job offers for immigration purpose, increase fairness and integrity in the express entry system. Oh, lest I forget, the idea of LMIA job initially is for employers to grant foreigners opportunity to get a temporary work permit to work in Canada after a job has been posted for a while. And I'll try to search for the number of months that once they must have put up the job posting for. I think it's 6 months. Once they can confirm that no one has applied for the job or no one is fit to get that job within the country, that is when they'll typically give the job out to foreigners. But there seem to be some underground, you know, here and there. And that's why IRCC has decided to stop LMIA points. And what that means is there's really no point coming to work tied under an employer for a while and you're not getting points for it. Like, there's no, yeah. Previously, when visitors could convert their visitors permit to a work permit, that's kind of like the route that they'll typically go for. So convert to work permit, start working with an employer, get the LMIA job offer and get points in your CRS point, and before you know it, you can transition from being a temporary resident to a permanent resident. But right now it's looking like that's not going to be possible anymore, unfortunately. And for those people that may be wondering, LMIA job offer is different from Canadian Experience Class offer. LMIA job offers are jobs that are tied to an employer. Under the Canadian Experience Class, you get an open work permit, so I can work in Alberta and under different employers. Under the LMIA, you can get 200 points for NOC 0, which is managerial roles, 50 points for NOC A and B, which are jobs that you can use an undergraduate degree for, that's bachelor's or even a master's degree for. If you're coming to Canada, maybe with spousal visa, and then you get a job in Canada, you get an open work permit to work anywhere, right? And then at the end of the day, after 1 year, you get 40 points for working for at least a year in Canada. LMIA jobs, on the other hand, once you have the 1 year work experience, you can get 200 points for NOC 0 jobs, which are managerial jobs, and 50 points for NOC A and B jobs. So do you get the clarification now? Alright, so those are the policies that IRCC just introduced. They are very, very strict policies. It's so unfortunate, but it doesn't mean that you should stop applying. Keep applying for jobs in Canada, even if you're outside Canada. Keep applying for admissions. Keep applying through the express entry route in case you're coming in as a permanent resident as well. Okay guys, if you have any question, let me know in the comment section, and if you can buttress more, please let us have it in the comment section. Thank you so much for doing that. Also, don't forget to like, share and subscribe. I'll see you guys in my next one.